your life foretold.
Oh?
Oh, no thanks.
Oh no.
A man. The most remarkable man.
This is true?
How did you meet him? Long story. But what led you to that meeting? Oh, so
That noise? Some kind of insect?
Sorry. It's the incense.
No?
Just
It is some kind of insect.
What's on my back?
There's something on your back.
What is it? What's on my back?
Make the choice again, Donna Noble, and change your mind.
They're trying to make it, or this lady, or whoever she's affiliated with, they're trying to make it so she didn't meet the doctor?
It's a star! It's a Christmas star!
Oh, from the Christmas special, isn't it?
We found a body, sir. Over.
No.
Is it him? Over.
I think so. We just didn't make it out in time.
Go on. Oh?
What did they find?
He's dead. I'm sorry, did you know him?
Yeah, she knew him.
I mean, they didn't say his name.
Weird. Funny sort of clouds.
Whoa.
Who typed this?
Smith and Jones?
Sounds impossible, but the entire hospital has vanished. The Royal Hope no longer exists. Reports from bystanders
Oh, I'm
say
loving
the
the
rain
music.
lifted up.
Like rhinos, talking rhinos in
Jadoon.
Rhinos could be aliens.
To be honest, I've given up on you.
Further
Oh.
report just in from Oliver Morgan.
Sarah Jane, her name
Sarah
was.
Jane?
Sarah Jane Smith.
Sarah Jane Smith was a freelance investigative journalist. Her body was recovered from the hospital late this afternoon.
Donna, isn't it? What was your name?
How you doing?
She's not gonna say, is she?
How's things? What have you been up to? Just, I think you should get out. You and your family don't stay in London, just leave the city.
Oh.
What for? Should leave me alone.
Oh, this music's for episode 2 as well. There's something on your back. Is that because there's going to be that attack? Or the Titanic, not the attack, the Titanic? Is that the reason she told her to get out?
A replica of the Titanic is
Yes,
falling
it
out
is.
of the sky, and it's heading for
And the
Buckingham
doctor's not
Palace.
there.
We're getting this footage from the Guinevere range of satellites.
Oh no.
The
Oh,
Royal
no.
Air Force has declared an emergency.
Yeah, the doctor's not there to save the day. Wow.
We're supposed to be out there selling papers.
Mmm.
Been there, we all should. We'd be dead.
Yeah.
It's a big house, room for all.
Alright, it's gonna have a bunch of people in there. Gee.
What do you mean this is us?
It's kind of cozy.
We're living in the kitchen.
Well, America don't save us. It's on the news. They're going to send Great Britain 50 billion quid in financial aid.
I don't know about that.
God bless America.
60 million people have dissolved into fat. And
Ah.
the fat is walking. People's
The
fat
adipose.
come to life.
Pointing guns at innocent women. A disgrace. In my day,
Go,
we'd
go,
have
go,
had
go,
you
go, yeah.
court-martialed.
Go to Rose.
Donna?
Go on, Rose. Give us something.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, they're trying right now, this little band of fighters on board the Suntaran ship.
Santarans. Yeah.
Any second now.
Poison Sky.
There's a man in a suit, tall, thin man, great hair.
Yeah, that's for sure. Great hair.
Christmas Eve, but you were meant to be there.
Hmm.
Needed someone to stop him, and that was you. You made him leave. You saved his life.
Leave me alone!
Something's coming, Donna. Something worse.
Oh, is this a setup for the grand finale?
He's stinking. How could anything be worse than this?
Oh, it
Trust
can.
me. It's coming from across the stars, and nothing can stop it. What
I just got
is
chills.
the darkness? I'm nothing special. I mean,
Yeah, you're special
I'm
already.
nothing special. I'm a temp. I'm not even that. I'm nothing.
No.
Donna Noble, you're the most important woman in the whole of creation. Oh, don't.
Huh?
Don't.
I need you to come with me.
Yeah.
But you gotta be certain. Just when you come with me, Donna. Sorry. So sorry, but
By herself.
you're gonna die.
Oh. Okay, she's clearly she's going to be responsible for something massive. I mean, that thing, it made me teary-eyed after Rose said it.
England for the English, etc. They can't send us home. The oceans are closed. They build labor camps.
Whoa.
I know, but Labour doing what? There aren't any jobs.
Wilfred, my capitan.
Go on. Yes. I've seen that. That's really popular on Twitter. That GIF.
Still, we'll have more.
This is taking a dark turn. Labor camps,
That's
yeah.
what they called them last time.
What do you mean?
Yeah, last time.
It's happening again.
What is? I suppose I've always been a disappointment.
Yeah.
I'm just useless.
Now, you know, they keep establishing that clearly she's not useless. All of us know that, but that thing Rose said.
Was there an entire constellation?
Oh, it's gone. Oh, they're disappearing. Look at that. The darkness. It's coming.
We're going out.
No. What?
Do you want to see it?
No.
Those brows, though. Her brows are looking really good. Really off topic, but.
Go on then.
It's a big beetle.
What is it?
We don't know.
Oh, thanks.
It feeds off time. By changing time, by making someone's life take a different turn. Like meetings never made,
Similar to
children never born, a life never loved.
Blink, right? There was a similar concept there.
Seems to be in a state of flux.
What does that mean?
Great acting.
I don't know. Sort of thing the doctor would say.
You liar!
We're getting separate readings from you. And they've always been there, since the day you were born.
This is not relevant to the mission.
Hold up.
It was
Let her
just the
talk.
doctor we needed. It's both for you. Doctor and Donna Noble. Together.
Oh, didn't the Ood say something like that?
What can I do? It's a time machine.
It's a time machine.
If you could.
Go on, Donna. Come on.
That's right, isn't it? I don't die. If I change things, I don't die. That's right, isn't it?
Sorry.
But I can't die.
You're gonna die.
Oh.
City executives don't need
Oh.
temps except for practice.
She have to jump?
Please.
Tell him this. 2 words.
I'm not sitting in a traffic jam.
Turn
I'm
left.
going left. I'm going left. Left.
There it is.
What are you? What will you be?
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of hints here.
Having that all right?
Gee.
What was that for?
I don't know.
Funny thing is, seems to be happening a lot. To you? The library and then this?
Yeah?
Just goes with the job.
No? There's gotta be something else.
Sometimes I think there's way too much coincidence around you, Donna.
Yeah.
I met you once, and I met your grandfather, and I met you again. It's like something's binding us together.
2 words. Go on.
She said the darkness is coming, even here.
Who was she?
Blonde.
What was her name?
She didn't.
Donna, what was her name?
Rose Tyler.
To warn
Oh,
me.
okay. That's not the 2 words.
She said 2 words. Bad wolf.
Oh.
What does it mean?
Doctor, what is it? What's bad wolf?
It's the end of the universe.
Alright, folks. So, yeah, look at that. Yet another fantastic episode. And that is on like a 4-episode streak at this point in time, right? Much like Series 3. You know, they had the 2-parter of The Family of Blood, Human Nature, Blink, and Utopia. Yeah, Series 4 has their own 4-episode run at this point. And, you know, for me, I'd say a few of these episodes are even better than a few of the episodes from Series 3 in that run. Or at least I like them better, right? A few of them at least. Yeah, this is, you know, people told me that Series 4 is a good one and, like, there's an incredible run of episodes. Yeah, you know, it's living up to the hype and all the anticipation I had for this series, especially because, you know, right from the beginning I found out that, yeah, Donna's back in, and, yeah, it's living up to all that hype. All of that hype. And, you know, as I mentioned, Donna, I can also confirm that she is easily my favorite companion of Doctor Who at this point in time. And of course, Catherine Tate is a big part of that. And the character of Donna is a big part of that. And yeah, this episode, oh my goodness, she was certainly the star of this episode. How about that emotional range? She really got to flex it in this episode, and she was most impressive. Wow. It's a, you know, it's a tough episode. It's a tough episode. It's an emotionally devastating episode for many reasons. The tone of this episode, it gets quite dark, quite grim. Some of the subject matter and some of the different things that are covered in this episode and the direction it heads into. And of course, Donna is in the middle of this, and Catherine Tate is in the middle of this, because just like the Doctor was on his own in Midnight, another fantastic episode, another incredible episode, and he certainly had an interesting day, let's just say, in Midnight. Now you have the Doctor sitting this one out, and you have Donna center stage, and she was just phenomenal in this episode. You know, Catherine Tate was phenomenal in this episode. Essentially, Donna Noble has always had the potential for greatness, right? It's always within her. You see that even this parallel Donna Noble, parallel universe, or parallel world Donna Noble had the potential for greatness, right? And that she rises to the occasion, no matter how baffling all of this jargon might seem to her at first, and how emotionally drained she is through all of this. She does rise to the occasion. And, you know, Rose said something really interesting. She said, you know, they've had separate readings for her from the day she was born, right? You know, in that sense, this episode really made it quite clear in the setup for, you know, this potential two-parter that Donna Noble is about to play some sort of major part, right? I think that much is clear at this point. It was kind of unmissable in this episode. Again, you know, through the things Rose is saying and telling Donna, and, you know, the setup throughout the season. And, you know, that was one of the cool things about this episode. You see a lot of the setup moments, a lot of the foreshadowing and hints finally coming in, you know. Again, the Fires of Pompeii episode 2, you know, there's something on your back. Finally, I get to see, you know, what he meant by that. And, you know, he told the Doctor she's returning. And in this episode, you finally get Rose back in proper, right? Before this, it was here and there, little hints, her making little appearances on monitors, little paintings of her and the Bad Wolf, right? It all ended up playing a part, you know, so they sprinkled it throughout the series, this series, that is, you know, hints and foreshadowing for us, the audience, to pick up. But yeah, Donna Noble, Rose said, now this, you know, this line of dialogue, this phrase, yeah, this had me kind of, wow, you know, you're the most important woman in the whole of creation, right? Wow. Of course, you know, Donna's baffled by this, but, you know, clearly that's quite a bit of setup there. You know, that cannot be ignored. And there's 2 episodes left in this series, right? Usually it's a two-parter, right, for the finale. So yeah, you know, they've set up that Donna might do something quite substantial, right? You see that fortune teller is quite spooked by Donna at the end there. You know, I believe she said, "Who are you? You know, and what are you going to become?" She said something along those lines, right? Yeah. So yeah, you know, they've certainly set up something substantial on the horizon for Donna Noble. So that has me excited, and it also has me a bit on the edge, right? Because, you know, it also takes me back to something the Ood said, Ood Sigma, I believe, in, you know, episode 3. Your names are never going to be forgotten, right? The Dr. Donna, he said to them. Our children are going to sing your names forever, and our children's children. So, again, you know, like I mentioned, there's a lot of really clever and interesting foreshadowing and hints sprinkled out throughout Series 4. Yeah. So, you know, they've certainly set up something quite major, something quite impactful, something quite substantial. And, you know, Donna Noble seems to be center stage. And, you know, even in the end there, the doctor, he told Donna there, you know, there seems to be too much coincidence just around you. You know, a lot of really interesting things happening just around you. So that notion of something binding them together, yeah, I'm certainly starting to believe that, you know, just as the doctor is at that point in time. And, you know, once again, Rose is full of really interesting things in this episode. You know, some of the things she's saying, she said, you know, I thought they only needed the doctor, but it looks like it was both of them, the doctor and Donna, right? So both of them are clearly going to, I mean, the doctor is a given, but, you know, Donna is going to play a major part in these next 2 episodes. If, you know, if there's one prediction that I can give you at this point in time, that Donna is going to play some sort of really substantial role in these final 2 episodes. And speaking of Rose, yeah, you know, finally, after all that build-up, after all those hints and foreshadowing, you know, beginning with episode 1, right, Partners in Crime, she finally made a full episode appearance. And yeah, she was in and out, but she was certainly featured prominently. And, you know, I bet she was probably even in the credits, the opening credits, but I wasn't even paying attention because I was just jamming out to the opening, you know, intro, the song. And I'm so used to just not really looking at the credits because it's usually the same names, right? So yeah, I guess, you know, a lucky coincidence there that I wasn't really paying attention. I mean, I was looking at the screen, but, you know, I was kind of looking past that. You know, I just didn't clock any names or anything. I'm just kind of jamming out, you know, and thinking of the cold open, essentially. So I did get a bit of a surprise as, you know, Rose does come sprinting in. Great shot, though. You know, she's out of focus, runs into the focus area. And you see that in this episode, she kind of takes up a bit of that doctor role, right? She's trying to explain some of that science and how these things are possible. And she's explaining to Donna. Again, you know, the doctor is not present throughout this episode, you know. Yeah, in the beginning and end, but for the most part, he's not in this episode, right? And, you know, I've got to say, they kind of downplayed his death, right? Yes, it's a parallel universe, but the doctor has died. Something as simple as a single element from the day's commute, right? Turn left or right, sets something so substantial into motion, right? It sets something catastrophic into motion, right? And it essentially deviated from that, you know, meeting of these 2 really important people. And I'm speaking of Donna and the doctor. Clearly, Donna is really important to the end game of this and throughout this series as well. And, you know, again, now you see that there's something quite special about Donna that's been known. And, you know, now the doctor's noticing these coincidence moments that he ran into her, then he ran into her grandpa, then he ran into her a second time. That these parallel universes are creating around her, or things of this nature are happening around her. So yeah, you know, go back to my original point. Even though it's an alternative universe, it's just a slight deviation of it, right? So I thought they actually downplayed the doctor's death. You know, the doctor died in this reality. And, you know, on that, you know, they said the soldier, the returning soldier, I can't remember the actor's name. but he played Rollo in Vikings. You know, he mentioned, he might have, essentially he died before he could regenerate. But, you know, if you go back to that episode, the Christmas special, you see that he had more than enough time. That's a bit dark. He clearly, well, he ended up drowning, essentially, but, you know, almost as if he let it happen, right? Because Donna wasn't there to stop him. She wasn't there to change that course of action, that trajectory. So even that in itself is quite dark, that the Doctor died, or ended up dying, because he certainly had enough time to, you know, get out of there. And again, one of the really interesting, you know, elements of this episode is the what if situation, right? All the things that the Doctor would have stopped, right, or put an end to, now they play out. Now they play out, and it has a lot of devastating consequences, right? You know, things start to go downhill in many different aspects of life. There, you know, the economy clearly kind of goes down south. You know, London essentially gets nuked, right? The daughter of London, again, that's another thing he mentioned, right? In episode 2, Fires of Pompeii. Yeah, you know, and, you know, I mentioned a lot of things got really dark, you know, elements like that, you know, London getting nuked, you know, essentially the kind of descend into fascism at one point, you know, it starts heading into that direction, you know. There's, you know, there's elements or, you know, subject matter like depression, for sure. You see it through Donna's mom, and then you see, you know, suicide. As well, you know, you see this Donna had to essentially jump in front of that train, not the train, the truck or the lorry. And you see that they've alluded to concentration camps, the labor camps. And, you know, speaking of this notion of concentration camps, labor camps, as they called it, how about the grandpa's acting again? Bernard, I believe it was Bernard, something Bernard, right? His acting is just phenomenal. You know, this man, I feel like he lives this character. Like, you know, it's one of the most believable characters I've seen in anything in recent memory. In the sense that, you know, he essentially lives that character. You feel like that is a person, right? You know, his eyes are so emotive. And, you know, to see him emotional, to see him cry is so devastating. It's so effective. And it really resonates, you know, you really feel that pain. And, you know, again, he said, you know, it's happening again. They called it labor camps back then as well, right? And, you know, there's that exchange, right, between him and that really wholesome Italian man. And how about a character making such a grand impact in such a short amount of time? This wholesome Italian man. Wow. You know, there's that really emotionally devastating moment as they, you know, they kind of look at each other and they know. And, you know, he salutes him. And, you know, like I mentioned, I've seen that moment on Twitter or through Twitter GIFs. And, you know, that's one of the places I've seen the grandpa before I actually even saw him on the show. It's a really famous GIF on Twitter. But yeah, you know, the pain in his eyes is so realistic, so believable, right? And one of, you know, another really sad moment of this is that Donna has no idea of this situation. You know, she just thinks, yeah, they're getting moved somewhere else. She kind of realizes at the end there, but yeah, it's a dark moment. It's a dark moment on Doctor Who, right? Yeah, wow. And, you know, in that sense, even the mom, the actress playing the mom, you know, there's some great acting on display there as well. You know, she really shows, or she was great at depicting that slow descent into just a shell of her former self. You know, again, you could kind of gather that she's almost clinically depressed by the end of that episode, right? As she's kind of lost all hope. She doesn't seem to be able to care about anything. She's incapable of caring about anything. But yeah, you know, circling back, all the things that Doctor, you know, would have stopped, yeah, they play out, and again, they have devastating consequences. Yet, you know, there are other heroes that do step up and need to, you know, kind of take that place. And essentially a lot of them end up dying as heroes trying to protect Earth and the people on Earth and their loved ones and stuff. So you get mentions of Martha Jones, who you see that she dies in this. Sarah Jane, how pleasant surprise to hear that name, though again bit of a dark context in this episode. She also ends up dying, right? You see that Jack, Captain Jack is mentioned, and he gets transported or sent to the planet of the Santarans. So I've seen this type of thing in different things before, not recently, but I've seen something similar before. Essentially, it's the many worlds interpretation, right? That every decision that is made creates a new quantum universe, right? So you see that what if situation play out. The doctor ended up dying because that decision to go left was switched to going right, and it just dominoes, right? And that, just that, like I mentioned earlier, right? Something as simple as one step in a daily commute, something as simple as that led to something so significant, right? And all of this started, or it kicked off because of that cold open, Donna going to that fortune teller. And, I think by the end of the episode, it was clear that she was targeted, right? And you see even in the beginning, there's something off as Donna goes in and, that lady looks at Donna. So she was targeted and, clearly this person, whoever she's affiliated. Now, they did do a name drop. Doctor actually said the Tricksters Brigade, right? So they clearly knew that Donna Noble is quite important to the Doctor and him potentially surviving. So, they knew that, separating Donna or making it so she never runs into the Doctor could lead to the Doctor's death. And it does, right? So, yeah, if they're setting up or maybe it's existed already, yeah. Given its rich history, I'm sure this has existed already. But they're introducing it into New Who at this point in time, the Tricksters Brigade, and they seem to be quite capable, right? They managed to kill the Doctor in that alternative reality by making Donna turn right. And that was the whole thing she was trying to get to the bottom of. The decision that led her to the Doctor on that fateful day. And, she got to it. This fortune teller, she got to it. She got out of Donna. Now, I felt the concept was a bit similar, right, to Blink. And the whole concept of the angels feeding on this temporal energy, right? Things that would have been or could have been. And they feed on that energy, right? And for all I know, it could still play out in these next two episodes, right? Maybe they knew how important Donna Noble is, right? And they don't want things to play out, right? How they've perceived them or how they've seen them, right? So a lot of interesting things going into these final two episodes. I'm excited, but again, there's still some sense of unease about this, given how they've established how important Donna really is. This episode really drove that point home. Now, it's an episode full of interesting, plot points and different aspects that are covered, but one of them is also Donna and her mother's dynamic and relationship. You see that this type of setup, right, this type of what-if situation, her not having that faithful encounter with the Doctor, you see that she continues as that, or, at that point in time, she's still the same loud and brash Donna Noble that I first saw in the Christmas special, right? But since then, I've seen her mellow out, right? And, you see that she's grown quite a bit, and she's had quite a bit of character development since then, through her experiences. Be it through introspection, be it through her experiences with the Doctor, a lot of it, a bit of all of these things played into that, right? But you see that she's, right now, this version of her is that Donna Noble. And you see throughout the episode, and different things, you see even her former employer, right? Mr. Chaudhry, he tells her to have some respect, right? Because like 2,000 people have just disappeared, but you know, Donna has no time for that. You know, she has no time for other people's tragedies or problems. You see that really combative side of her personality, and you see Grandpa Wilfred tells her to calm down a few times, right? He implores her to calm down. There's that one scene as they arrive at their new living conditions, or their new housing, you know, and she has a one-on-one with that one lady, right? And he said something along the lines of, you know, shouting at the world is not going to solve the problems, or that's not the thing to do at this time, at this moment in time. And she said, well, I can try, right? She said something along those lines. She's quite stubborn, right? And you see throughout the episode that the grandpa, right? Grandpa's the one that is quite perceptive of all of these things that are going around him, you know, be it on the television, really paying attention. You see the concern in his face, but, you know, his daughter and then his granddaughter kind of just, you know, they're not giving him much attention, right? All of these really strange happenings. I really do love Grandpa so much. Really, I really do. He's such a fantastic character, and you know, the actor is just phenomenal. He is that, you know, essentially he is that character. He lives that character, and I adore him. You know, alongside Donna, I adore that grandpa. Now, circling back to Donna and her mom's relation and dynamic, you see that there is some sort of prolonged or long-running abuse in that sense, right? I mean, there's also an element of care, that's for sure. You know, she certainly cares for Donna as a mom, but there's also, it's undeniable that there is some sense of emotional abuse to this, you know, that nothing Donna ever does is going to be good enough, right? And you see that throughout this episode as well. And it's certainly shaped Donna. It's affected Donna, and you know, she's developed issues because of this long-standing emotional abuse, in my opinion, at least. Again, I do think she also has that caring side, as all mothers do. But I do feel like there is something there, you know, in that sense. There is a bit of emotional abuse, long-standing emotional abuse, right? That nothing she ever does is going to be good enough. And you see that even in this shocked state of hers, you know, she looks like she's clinically depressed, essentially. Or, you know, just a situation, all of it going just down south real quick. Her mom is still able to maintain that, you know, aspect of being disappointed by her, that she's given up on her. And, you know, at that one point, at her lowest, and, you know, at this point, she's like checked out, right? There's that one really poignant shot of her mom, just, again, you know, no expression on her face, and she is just, yeah, like I said, you know, I felt like she's like clinically depressed at this point in time. And you see Donna in the background, she's like, I've always been a disappointment to you, right? And she's like, yeah, even then she was able to, you know, keep that up. Though to cut her some slack, right, her mom that is, you see that she's really incapable of caring about anything at that point in time. That was one of the things I mentioned earlier, right? You see throughout the episode, her state of mind is just really fragile. And it's just, you know, it just breaks down by the end of it. It's in a dark place by the end of it, her mom that is. But, you know, go back to Donna, yeah, you know, she carries this, she's accepted this, and, you know, in that sense, she has this really self-deprecating personality at times, right? And you see a lot of it play out as Rose is suggesting these really outlandish things to her, that she is someone special, she is someone important, and she is going to be someone important, right? And that she's essentially the most important woman in all of creation, right? In the whole of creation. So yeah, you know, for her to hear these things, it's just ludicrous, right? And you see how she deals with all of that. She said, I'm nothing special, because she truly believes that. You know, in her mind, there's no concept of this even being a possibility of the things this individual is saying to her, right? And you see that she's even rejecting that notion. You know, she's like, why are you telling me these things? And again, you know, her incredible acting comes into play here. But like I mentioned earlier, Donna Noble has always had the potential for greatness, and she rises to the occasion, right? Yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. Again, another fantastic episode. Of course, you know, that cliffhanger, it's clearly going to lead into this finale, two-parter, Bad Wolf. Now, I'm guessing the TARDIS is translating, right, at the end there. Once the TARDIS is or once TARDIS is registered, that yes, you know, there's a looming danger, imminent danger. It starts to translate, right, for the Doctor, and you know, really letting him know that, yeah, you know, danger is imminent. So yeah, you know, they mentioned the darkness, or Rose mentioned the darkness. So yeah, let's see. You know, there's that one scene of the stars, constellations, entire constellations just disappearing. That was so effective. You know, spooky, really spooky, as they're looking up in the sky, right, through the telescope, or just even to the naked eye. You see things disappearing in the sky. So something big is on the horizon, and you know, I'm not too far off. There's only 2 episodes left in series 4. You know, it is crazy that I'm at this point. You know, I'm almost done with series 4, and then of course, you know, there's the specials. But yeah, almost time for series 5. Yeah, but that brings it closer, doesn't it? You know, the potential departure of Donna Noble as well, right, as a companion, because the setup here, I don't know if this is going to be similar to Rose. You know how Rose she was the bridge from Eccleston to Tennant. I'm not that sure if Donna Noble is meant to be the bridge from Tennant and Matt Smith. You know, I mean, there's nothing that tells us that it has to be like that, but you know, yeah, it looks like both of these stories could wrap up. You know, the Doctor's story, or Tennant's story, and perhaps Donna Noble's as well. A lot of setup, a lot of great setup in this episode. Now, my hope is that, you know, the finale doesn't end up being similar to series 3 finale. That was a bit disappointing, again, in my opinion. I thought that was a bit of a letdown, you know, the finale itself. The first part of the finale was really good, I thought. But, you know, part 2, episode 13, that was a bit of a letdown. So I hope the same thing doesn't happen here. But yeah, I'm quite excited. I'm really excited. Yeah, great episode. It really is a great episode. You know, my favorite episodes of series 4, or my top 5, and ranking them, that's going to be tough. But yeah, you know, I'm excited to get to that at the end of my run on series 4. You know, in the discussion for episode 13, I'll do my usual, you know, top moments, favorite characters, you know, top episodes. And you know, I would love to do my all-time list. I think there's enough there now to do my all-time top 10 episodes of Doctor Who. So yeah. So if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, giving your thoughts. If you're interested in early access to the next episode, or maybe even full length to this episode, consider checking out the Patreon page. Right then, that's about it for this one. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your time. And I hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.